shocking thing is that most people didn't even bother. So I was laying on the ground in the train. The train has now stopped, but I could hear people walking over me. Yes. I'm not over that yet. It's been 10 years, but I'll never forget that. I could hear people walk over me. Yes, I could hear there were some people who were around me who were concerned and waiting for help to arrive. And soon after, the train driver came out of his driver's side and came over to where I was. And I could hear him calling me, and he was like, "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you need an ambulance?" And I just said, no, just lift me up. That's what I say. So hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dorothy and this is Mom Unstuck. On today's video, I'm gonna be doing a part 2 of my immigration story to Canada. March 2023 officially marks 10 years since I moved to Canada, and I'm excited to share part of my immigration story. And if you watch the first part 1 of the video, I shared about how I immigrated here 10 years ago, the culture shock that I experienced and still experience actually. You just never get used to it, especially the weather and even the culture. It's still a learning process. So if you haven't watched that, I'd recommend you watch part 1 so that you can be able to follow along with part 2, because there's a story I started in part 1 and I want to continue on that story. So without further ado, I'm gonna get into that story. But before I do, please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and welcome. And if you enjoy this video, please give it a huge thumbs up and comment in the comment section if you can relate to my immigration story. And I really look forward to hearing from you as well. So where did I leave part 1? Okay, I was talking about how I got on the train on this winter storm day. There was a blizzard that I wasn't aware of, so I shouldn't even have left the house in the first place. But I left the house to go for work. I was completely bundled up with layers and layers of clothes, and then I got into this packed train. Most of us actually had to stand, and a few minutes after I got on the train and the train was already moving, I started to feel dizzy, I started to feel lightheaded, and before I could even turn to tell anyone that I felt like I was going to fall, I landed on the floor. I completely passed out on the train. People freaked out and panicked. Like I was still conscious of my surroundings, but I was on the floor and I was completely weak, completely helpless. So somebody had to press the emergency button. By this point, the train was almost to downtown. So the train driver stopped at the very first stop in downtown. And guys, the shocking thing is that most people didn't even bother. So I was laying on the ground in the train. The train has now stopped, but I could hear people walking over me. Yes. I'm not over that yet. It's been 10 years, but I'll never forget that. I could hear people walk over me. Yes, I could hear there were some people who were around me who were concerned and waiting for help to arrive. And soon after, the train driver came out of his driver's side and came over to where I was. And I could hear him calling me, and he was like, "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you need an ambulance?" And I just said, no, just lift me up. That's what I say. So I lifted my hands up so that someone could pick me up. And sure enough, somebody on the left and on my right picked me up, and they sat me down. And guess what, guys? After I left the train, I felt okay. I declined the ambulance. I declined any help. And guys, I still proceeded to work. Money. Yeah, so still I went to work, guys, but I was feeling perfectly fine. Like nothing was wrong with me. I know that for sure. It's just that I was so layered up with so many layers of clothes, and the train was so packed. So suddenly, like, I guess it affected my blood flow to my head, blood circulation, whatever. and that's why I passed out. So I was fine actually, and I laughed about it even when I got to work and told my colleagues. We just laughed. It was funny, but right when it happened, it was scary. So I know you're curious to know where was this job that I had to take 2 trains and a bus. Like, it was an hour and a half away, and that was my first job here in Canada. So I know I promised to share where that was. And guys, my first job in Canada was at Walmart. Yes. I landed the job within, I think, 4 weeks of moving here. I just applied online and they responded right away, which I thought was a big deal because, oh, it's my first job in Canada. I get to make the dollars. So I wasn't even picky. So whatever job came first, I took it. So working at Walmart is minimum wage, regardless, I guess, of your experience. And of course, I was very new here, and I made that very obvious with my accent and everything. No Canadian education. So of course it was very obvious that I was new. So they put me as at the worst place you can start. They put me as a cashier. So this was like the worst situation because I'm new to the country. You're putting me as a cashier to work as a cashier where I get to deal with people, first of all, which is intimidating, and I get to deal with money. I hadn't even learned the Canadian currency. I was still getting to know, the change, the bills, the coins, what was 5 cents, what was 1 cent, which is a penny, what is 10 cents. Like I wasn't even too sure if I knew $1, $2. Like, I was still learning, and these guys put me in as a cashier. So you can imagine the challenge there. But honestly, I found a lot of people very understanding and patient with me. But once in a while, you'll meet that customer who has no time for you. They want their money back, their change, they want their stuff, and they want to get out of the store. So sometimes I'd struggle to give change, and I'd give the wrong change back, and some customers, especially the older people, it's understandable. Like, older people don't have patience, most of them, or some of them. So I'd give the wrong change, and they'll be like, that's not how much you're supposed to give me back. And one guy, I will never forget, one guy asked me, like, are you new here? Where are you from? This is not how things work here. I was like, okay. Literally every day at that job was an experience. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was coming on that day. But I know I had mentioned in the previous video that it was just a spring job, so it was a temporary job just for about 3 months, and I survived the 3 months, guys. I commuted every day, 1.5 hours there, 1.5 hours back home. I survived the 3 months, and I was so tired. But guys, when you get your paycheck and you compare to the Kenyan currency, you're like, oh, well, I can't complain. I'm living good. I'm making money. So yeah, I stayed at the job for about 3 months. And I remember after the position was closed, I requested Walmart to my manager to transfer me from that Walmart to a Walmart that was like close to my house. I used to live very close to a Walmart that I could actually walk to the Walmart close to my house. So I asked them to transfer me, and they declined. They didn't want to do it. So guys, unfortunately, I had to quit. So I quit the job after 3 months. I wasn't expecting that, but I guess it was a learning process, right? So there I was again, back to job hunting, and I was like, at least I have Canadian experience. The good thing, or rather the best part actually about studying at Walmart, is that I got to interact with people. I got to know more about Canadian culture, what kind of things they like to buy, the food, the household items, the names of items, the names of foods. Oh my gosh, I learned so much about the vegetables here, what the kind of meals they make here. So it was really, really a good learning experience. I learned a lot from that 3 months position there. So here I'm back to job hunting, and to be honest, it was the most challenging thing I found. And I'm not gonna get into so much about the the work culture here, especially if you're integrating into Canadian culture in terms of the workplace, especially if you're an immigrant. Guys, when I left Kenya, I had just graduated. Literally, I graduated in December 2012 with my bachelor's degree, and I moved to Canada in about like 3 months after that. So I had not gained a lot of experience from my work back in Kenya, or from my degree rather back in Kenya. I was working in Kenya in administration, but I studied and graduated in HR. So I was so optimistic about moving here and finding a career in HR. But shock on me, things did not turn out as easily as I expected. I had to do the survival jobs, like the Walmart jobs. That's what we call the survival jobs here, which are really challenging. I wasn't driving, so I mentioned about the commute, and here I am without a job, and now I'm trying a little bit harder. I've gotten used to it's about now like 6 months I've been here, almost 9 months. So I'm getting used to it, to the culture. I'm getting used to the weather. It's no longer winter anymore, so I didn't have to bundle up too much anymore. So, and then, you know, when the weather is nice, you're more able to go look for other opportunities. So I got to meet other people. I got to volunteer in some places, which is a big deal here in Canada. Volunteering is so big. It's such a plus for your career path. And then before you knew it, I knew it. I got another job, but unfortunately it was still a survival job. Guys, to be honest, I ended up doing like 3-4 survival jobs, and some of them I just had to quit because at some point it got so frustrating to try and get into my career. Like, I was like, why am I not getting work in HR? I have a bachelor's degree, fresh from Kenya. So for me, I was still expecting that I would come in here and get a job in HR right away with my Kenyan degree, or my degree from a Kenyan university. So, but that was not the case for me, and that's actually not the case for most people. But I want to do a more detailed video talking about that, because that's something that affects a lot of immigrants. It did negatively affect me, because at some point, guys, having worked almost 9 months now, almost a year, and I can't find work in my career, it got frustrating, and I really started to resent my decision to move to Canada. But I'm not going to get into the details of that video today. I really wanted this video just to finish my story about passing out in the train, and about my first job here in Canada. So guys, I'll do a more detailed video about finding work here in Canada in your career, or how you can find more, how to build your career path here. But the survival jobs, they call them entry-level jobs. It's literally a very common path for most immigrants when we move here. Especially, I feel bad even for people like doctors, nurses, lawyers. Those actually have to like go back to school and all that. But I'll get into details. I don't want to get too carried away and make this video too long. I'll get into more detail about that probably in my next video. But for now, I hope you enjoyed part 2 of this video. 10 years, guys. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful to God, celebrating 10 years since I moved to Canada. Please subscribe to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. Please share if you know that this is a story that can inspire somebody, or if this story brings up some memories of your first experience, if you've immigrated to another country. Let's connect in the comment section. I want to hear your experiences too. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and guys, I will see you again on the next one. Bye.